Hello, welcome back to the channel. Today we are fitting a big boy lift kit into the Ranger. In our last video, you would have seen us getting these tires fitted up. I didn't actually show at the end of the video how big they were because I forgot. So yes, here they are fitted to the tire. They're big boys. Now for our lift kit, it's full Superior engineering gear. So we got all this from Superior. We've got ourselves rear shackles. We've got some nice billet upper control arms. They're adjustable, nice bit of gear, very expensive stuff. We've also got a body lift, which looks really good. So depending on how long the video goes, we might install this in this video or the next video, not too sure. I've got shockeys, pretty much everything we need to put probably legal height lift kit in this car, of course. Remember, any big lift kits you need to get mod plated, so good thing this one isn't a big lift kit. So 2 inches, yeah, 2 inches, so that's what we're doing. It's a 2-inch lift kit. So yeah, we're gonna we're gonna go through how to install this. For this, we'll have to actually put together the suspension components first before fitting it in the car. We'll go over the steps on how to do that, and then we shall fit it all up nicely. All right, so our first step is obviously going to be building up these suspension, the front shocks and springs. We have this fan dangle spring compressor here. Quite easy to use, it bolts into the bottom of your shock, and then we'll use these to pull the spring down to compress it so we can then put the top hat on. Yeah, not too hard to do. So pretty straightforward. We've got the other stuff over here right next to our fully sick turboed AU engine, which is going in here. If you haven't checked that video out, check that out as well. So yeah, here's our springs. Here's all the quality equipment here for our top of our suspension. Oh, that was loud. We'll smash all that together and show you how it goes. Okay, so this is what our kit comes with. It comes with everything we need to assemble the shock with the spring. Now, all of our bushings will match everything on our documents here that we have. So how it'll go together is we've got top bit, one washer, the bigger washer sits on top. We've got a crush tube that'll sit on the inside of this. I'll take that off for a sec. This will then sit inside here with this bushing sitting on top like that. Once that's all together, it'll come apart. You can put it back together that way. You've got this spring seat that pushes in like that. And then on top of where your tube will come in, which is over here. Oh, watch out, mate. That's where these will sit. So we'll see it a bit more, and I'll do a bit more detail once it's all put together. But yeah, pretty straightforward. If you follow the instructions, you cannot get it wrong. So we're putting on our spacing shims, and that's the bottom seat for our spring. Now we put on the spring itself, which is old mate's going to get. All right. Now, also got to make sure that the spring seats properly into the bottom here. If it sits like up and not in that groove, it's not seated properly. Next step, we put the boot on. Well, you probably put the boot on first and then put the spring in. So, boot. Boot! All right, with our boot on, we'll now throw the coil on. Boom. Now, the next step will be to use our spring compressor here to compress the spring down into the shock itself. That way we can then put on all of our washers and the remaining of the top hat of the suspension. That's what the destruction says.
The destruction.
And that's what the rest of those, and that goes on top of that. And then we have our final nut. And then that's done. Now this is on, we're gonna readjust all this. We just need to get the bloody top of it on. So don't be concerned about that because it'll look better once I snap it. All right, we've got it all to line up with the ratchet strap, and then we're gonna tighten that top bit down, and then this is all set. We've got to do that one more time to the other side, and then we're right as rain. Make sure that the orientation of the shock is the same as what the one is in the car, so that you don't have to try and root around changing this up while it's in the car. All right, then since we've just done our suspension, we're now going to do the body lift, and we'll show you how to do that now. So our first step in doing a body lift is we need to go under here and take off our side steps, because we're going to have to jack off the area to get this up and get the body away from the chassis so we can put our spacer blocks in here. So I'll go over what we have in the kit. This is what our body lift kit contains. It contains spacer blocks, a whole bunch of extended bolts, and yeah, that's pretty much it. We're going to have to go through, obviously find out which ones go where, and that's how we'll figure out what goes to what spot. Now just be mindful when you're doing a body lift, you're going to have stuff that's connected to the body and connected to the chassis. You're going to have to make sure none of that stuff is going to break or rip. I know with some of the older model Tritons, when you do a body lift, you'll actually wear out your bottom radiator hose that hits on the fan. That background noise is really annoying. But yes, go over all that, check all that out as well before you do the install, because you don't want to be halfway through it and then find out it doesn't work. All right, so we're about to start the body lift. Make sure when you're doing this, you do side per side. So we're going to take out all the bolts on our left, so right side of the car, our left, and we're going to undo the opposite side, but we're going to undo them slightly, not all the way, because we don't want the cab to fall off the chassis or shift on the chassis. So we want to undo them enough so we can get some movement, but not too much. And this side we're going to have fully undone. So we'll get to doing that now. Okay, so we've taken our bolts out. We've got one at the front, one about here-ish on the car, and then one at the very back. The tub has its own set of bolts, so we'll go over that in a sec. They're over here and back there. So we're just doing the cab itself first, and then we'll do, once this is fully done, then we'll do the tray. So we're using our Smart Safe blocks here. Hardwood block.
Let's make it hardwood.
Make it hardwood, don't use pine because they can split. And then basically we're just going to jack it up. Okay, now the body is lifted, we can now put our spacer in up over here. Just like that. And then once that's in, we can put our bolt in and that'll secure it and we'll lower it down. Pretty straightforward. All right, so we've done the 2-inch body lift now. We're keeping these bolts loose, so make sure you do that because we do have to jack the other side up, so don't forget that. So now you can see a height difference here between the cab and our tray. So that'll be fixed up once we put the body lift in the tray. So we'll quickly swing around the other side, smash in those bolts with the new lift in it, and we'll move to the tray, and then that's where we'll keep going. All right, that's the second side of the body lift done. Exact same procedure as last time, just jacking it all up, and it's sweet. The reason why we did the body lift first, after just doing the suspension, before doing the suspension, sorry, is because the body is going to be a bit lower to the ground. We can easily jack it up, where if we put the lift kit in it, we have to get more blocks to lift it up. So that's the only reason why we've done that. So yeah, next step is the tub. So that should be identical procedure because it's the exact same setup. So now the whole body lift has been done, well not the whole body lift, at least the cab body part has been done. We're going to go through Loctite every bolt. Now that we've made sure all of them are lined up and in the hole, we're going to go one at a time, take it fully out, Loctite it, throw it back up in the hole, and then move along and do them all. We're going to do that before we do the tub, just so we don't forget and we can double check it all. So that's our next step. Don't forget to do that also. Yeah, Loctite is very important when it comes to body mounts. All right, so to do the tub on a Ranger, we have a body block up in here. We have one just up in here behind the wheel, and the final one is up in here area. So you're gonna have to do that either side, exactly the same way, loosen off one side, fully take out the other side. Now to lift this up, we're gonna lift it up by hand. It's not gonna be overly heavy because there's nothing in the tray. A bit easier than trying to jack it up. So we're just gonna lift it up, put the blocks in, put the bolts in, and then the other side. We're not gonna film that because it's pretty straightforward. All right, so just show them lifting it, mate. See, nice and easy. So it's not an overly hard thing to do. We'll lift it up, chuck in the spacer, and then we'll be right as rain. So yeah, just lift it up and I'll throw one in, just like that. Boom, one in there. Second one in the back here. Easy as. So yeah.
Bolts with one sword.
Yes, we did mention that. All right, so that's the full body lift fully done. While Connor's gone to get himself a mani-pedi and get his lashes done, we are going to fit the rear suspension up and then move away to the front. Okay, so here we have our rear suspension. Now we haven't got new leaf springs or anything. What we're putting on is one of these extension brackets, or what I would probably call a drop shackle. I'm not too familiar with leaf sprung vehicles because I had a Patrol which was a coil sprung thing. So yeah, there are rear shocks in here somewhere. Yeah, right here. We've got new rear shocks and a new extended shackle here. So remember, if you're changing any suspension items, you need to get corresponding shockies, otherwise you'll bottom out the shock and cause damage. So these will be a pretty easy to install bit. We'll just have to take off the back of the spring itself, and change that. And as for the shock, it's only 2 bolts, so that's going to be easy as. What's going to be more difficult will be the front suspension, where we have our new control arms and coil and spring together. Right, so before we undo our shackles, we're going to have to take the shocky out, obviously. So that's our 18mm spanner, nice and easy to do. We'll crack that, get that fully out, have the shocky dropping down, then we'll remove our shackle. Yeah, shackle. Then we'll remove our shackle and we'll be sweet. So that is the standard size shackle. And now this is our new big dog one. As you can see, a bit of a size difference. So that'll bring the whole level of this coil, this leaf, down a whole bunch, which will then lift the body and the rest of the chassis up. I'll do a side-by-side comparison once we get this part out. Pretty easy. Once you take these end nuts off, you can take that plate out. Make sure you have the weight off the suspension. So we have a block of wood under the tow bar. We've jacked it up. And chassis stands. Make sure you put chassis stands under there. Chassis stands. Get a hammer, knock those pins out, which is what my good friend Jaden's doing. And then it'll drop out nicely and we can continue with the job. And there we go. With a bit of persuasion, that shackle is out of here. Now on the other side, you might have to drop the spare wheel, not too sure. I did have some issues with the exhaust, but that moved out the way thanks to that nice rubber grommet. Now there are bushes in here, as you can see. These ones here come with no bushes, obviously, so we'll reuse the bush. These bushes for this side are already in the leaf, and then this side we're just going to reuse the big end side of the bush. Make sure to put a little bit of grease on these, otherwise it can squeak and that does get annoying when you're out there bogging. Alright, here's that shackle fully pulled apart. You're going to have to pull it apart to be able to put the new bushes on anyway. Pretty straightforward, so don't be too worried about it. Basically what you want to do, thin smear of grease in here, on those shafts, on the inside of that and on the outside, anywhere that's going to be rubbing. You can see Ford have put like a dry lube on there, so you can keep that on there if you want. I'd suggest getting some rubber grease on there just so it has a little bit of extra movement on there. So we'll quickly smash that together, whack it up in the car, and then you'll see what we're talking about when we're done. All right, so we have one half of the shackle in, all pushed in nicely, as you can see. So that's the angle that you want that to be on. Obviously the bushes are pushed out, so once it's all pushed in together, it'll look like that. So we'll whack the other side on, tighten it all up, and then we'll lower the car down. All right, there we go. And that's how that operates. So you saw before, as you flex out, this section will drop down. That'll give you that fully hectic flex. And this is what gives you your height here. But yeah, this will then swing down under when you go full flex, so that'll give you a nice suspension flex on here. Remember, if you do that, you're going to need bigger shockies, otherwise you'll bottom out your shock before you do the spring, and that's when damage happens. So that's a bit bigger than what it was. I'm happy with that. We'll tighten everything up, recheck everything, and then chuck the new shocks in. When your shock comes, it'll come with a strap on it, so we'll cut that and it'll extend out, so don't be worried when it does that. It'll extend out. Now we'll put a bit more rubber grease on those two bushes here, and then it says up, so that's the way it needs to sit in the car. And there's also, see that bush is set like that? We'll have to match that with how the car is set, okay? So you'll do it yourself. Now, also you have a boot. You have a nice rubber boot here. So you have a rubber boot. That'll slide over the top, then we zip tie it to the bottom here, and then this ring will fit inside that. It's pretty straightforward, so we'll get that done right now. So as you can see, the big end of the top of the shock is going to match up with that big end. See how one side is fine than the other? That's how you know the shock's going to be the right way. If that's not around the right way, the shock won't line up with the bottom port here. So yes. Now, once we undo all that, to get that in there, we might have to jack the shock up. If not, we can jack the body up so that the diff will drop away from the shock. Either way, we'll see how we go, but hopefully we should just be able to push it up in there and get the bolt on. All right, so now we have the shock hanging in there. manhandle that up in there. And the last little bit we can use a pry bar or something there to get in the right spot so we can fit our bolt in. Then we are cooking with gas. And there we go. All done. Bolted up. We're going to nip them up in a sec. And then we're good to go. Next step. And that's the moment everyone's been waiting for. The big meaty tyre put on there. Body lift. Rear suspension installed. That's bloody nice. That is very nice. That's a few inches there. We won't tell what size lift kit it is because we'll get in trouble, but no, that's good. That is very nice. So that's the back done. We will smash out the front just now. Superior Engineering should sponsor this channel. All right, so in here is the old style of Superior Engineering adjustable top control arms. This is the new style. That is very nice. These ones you can adjust in the car, I've been told. And it also looks a lot more industrial, a lot more heavy duty. It looks like it's billet, I believe. That one's not. So it's a bit older, but yeah, that is the older style. This is the new style. So we'll quickly smash that in and readjust everything. So this Superior kit comes with obviously your upper control arm that's fully adjustable. Comes with what looks like to be a new stopper, a bump stop. Whole bunch of different washers here, assembly grease plus your adjustment tool, which you'll be needing once it's in the car. All of your nuts, bolts, screws, and P-clamps, because you've got screw holes here that you can reconnect anything, which you'll probably be reconnecting this line here, which is for your ABS, I'm assuming. You've got installation grease, and that's about it. So it's going to be pretty straightforward. Crack open this. I believe this is one through bolt, so we'll undo one side, pull it all the way through, chuck our new upper control arm on. We're going to have to split this section apart and undo the top of our tower, drop that out. It'd be easy to explain once this wheel's off, so I'll go take that off. All right, now we've got the wheel off, we can see what we need to get to a lot easier. As always, dropping our sway bar out so we can make everything droop properly. This is getting replaced. All this needs to be undone so we can lift this forward to pull our old shock out. And yeah, we'll go through step by step like we have with the body lift. All right, to get this top control arm off, you've obviously got 21mm nut up here, and then you got an 18 on this side. Undo that, pull the whole bolt through. Then you can get a hammer, whack that, or you can get a ball joint separator into here and use that. Depends how stuck it is. Normally a good smack on here with a hammer. Just make sure you have the nut down here. I mean, it won't matter if you're replacing this because the new part comes with one of these, but if you're reusing it, you don't want to damage the threads. So we're going to do that to get that out. That'll bring this whole section forward. Make sure we undo this and unclip all of our ABS sensors and that, which go into here. And then, yeah, next step will be undo this, and it's another 21mm bolt. You've already done it. Prime example. Yeah. All right, once that's been undone, we can take that out. Remember to take this off before you do that because you will damage that. Then our top bolt will come out like so, and then that's the top control arm out of the way. Well, I'll put it next to the new one so you have a comparison. Boom, boom. So yes, they're pretty much the same as in size-wise, but this one's fully adjustable, which means we can then get that camber setting correctly, which we'll probably go through. If not, we'll discuss it when we do the nav video, which you guys might have actually already seen. So if you haven't, check it out. So yes, next step, crack these top bolts here, take this bottom bolt out, and then she's done skis. All right, once you've undone your top bolts, to undo the bottom one, you should be able to push down on your caliper, or on your bloody rotor, push down and then pull up and down at the same time on this. Be able to get that out, compress that shock enough just to get it past this bottom bit, and then it'll come out nicely like that. So to put in our new shocky with our spring is going to be the reverse procedure. It's going to be a bit harder because these are slightly longer than the factory ones, even with that space that we had. So it's going to be in, put a bolt in at the top, bolt the bottom one in, and then we'll get into putting in our top control arm. I'm just doing this real nice and quick and easy, not going too in depth into it because You just don't need to worry about all the finicky shit. That's for the wheel alignment shop when you are finished fitting it all up. Okie dokie, that's all done up. If you're having issues getting any of these bolts in, and it's always good to help hold all this front suspension up, use a jack. It really does help. Get that bolt lined up nicely, smack it on in there. All right, before we put it together, you got your installation grease. Throw a bit of that on either one of these bushes, either side. That'll help it move and grooving when you're reassembling, and it'll also stop it squeaking. So that's what we need to make happen. Next step, lift this big dog up in there. I can't do it with only one hand. And then we're gonna put it in there, put the big bolt through. There is some of these washers here. Now this looks like a spacer washer. All right, so here we go. We've chucked our top control arm in. You do have different size space washers here, see? Now, we're not 100% sure on what size it needs to go where. We have eyeballed where we believe it needs to be. We are gonna take the extra washers that we have to Hackett's tires, because they're gonna do the final suspension alignment, wheel alignment, all that, and a quick check over it. Because they specialize in four-wheel drive stuff, so make sure you go to those guys down there in Archerfield. So yeah, we'll go to them with all the extra parts. If they say we need to change something, we will, but also we can change that alignment using our adjustments here. So now that's all done, we'll tighten that up. We'll lift up our top control arm, chuck in this back on, tighten it all up, and then we should be good to go. We have taken out the sway bar completely. As I've just been informed, these ride a lot better without the front sway bar in. Oh, it's still in for legal reasons. Well, it is actually still in because of legal reasons. But yes, apparently they do ride a lot better. Unlike my Patrol that I had, when I took the sway bar out, it was pretty much undrivable. So yes, we'll smash this together right now. So finally, as a little trick to be able to get our top control arm back onto here, of course, these are super heavy duty springs to suit a bull bar, because there's a bull bar going in this car soon. What we can do is we fully adjust our adjuster all the way out so that this section will come down further, and that way we can get into here without jacking this up any further, because we're actually starting to tip the car over. So we'll quickly smash this out, wind these out, get this down further so we can get this into this eyelet, and then we'll be sweet to chuck it back up in there. And there we go. All in like Flynn. So we'll tidy this up by putting those P-clamps into those holes, keep our ABS line out the way, and then chuck the wheel on. Be mindful, we probably will have to extend our brake lines, because obviously that's going to be a lot longer. Same as for the rear end. The rear end is going to need extended brake lines too. I believe you can buy all that from Superior or from probably any car shop. You just have to make sure it's for your car. Okay, we'll cut back to when everything's finished. Okay, so this is what it should look like when it's fully finished. We've just finished putting it on. We're going to tighten these up obviously once we've done our adjustments, so don't forget to put those on. Everything's been hooked up here. New bump stops are put on. You need to do those because the factory ones are a lot bigger, so you won't get as much flex. So we'll smack the wheel on, let it down, see what our alignment is like with the wheel, and then we can get up here and adjust these and then tighten these up. And there we go, front suspension all done. We are still jacked up off the ground, so it's not going to be that ridiculously high, but that's the general idea. So we'll take down these jack stands and get on the ground so we can see how big it really is. And there it is, on the ground. That's tough. So I don't know if you can see it on the camera, but you can see this wheel sort of is sitting like this. Yeah, that's called positive camber. So that's what these top mounts are going to be used for. We're going to wind them in. That'll bring this whole section in, and we'll bring this wheel back this way. I know that's dramatic, but that's sort of what we're doing. We're only going to be able to eyeball it. But yeah, the alignment shop, which is Hackett's, they'll sort that out. As you can also see, these CV angles are absolutely horrendous. So to fix that, we can get a diff drop, which will bring our diff that's up under here down to level those CV axles. There, them CV axles. We're having a rough day talking, people. To bring that down, because if you go forward driving with axles that bad, you're going to be blowing out CVs in no time, especially if you're getting a high in the RPM range and you're clutch dumping and all sorts of shit. So I think a bit of street driving won't do any harm, but if they're going to go out bogging, we definitely need to get a diff drop for this bad boy. So now, after fitting these big tires and the big lift and the body lift and all that other stuff, we need to check wheel clearances, because we're going to have issues possibly with the tire scrubbing on certain parts. I know on smaller lift you have to cut out a fair bit. We're hoping we're not going to have to touch too much, But we're gonna have to test all that. The rear shouldn't be an issue unless we start flexing it out. We have nowhere to flex it out, so we're just gonna focus more on getting the front clearing properly. We'll do lock to lock and we'll do all that, but we'll do that after we've adjusted our camber adjustment, and hopefully after we've spoken to Hackett's and gotten them to go and do the alignment properly on it. Alright, so we're adjusting the camber now by using our supplied tool there. We want to get that to 0 by adjusting that out. And then Hackett's will sort it out when we drop it to them to make it happy. He's back. How's your trip?
Very good.
That's good, that's good. Alright, next step is the camber is set. We're going to do our toe angle. And the bush mechanic way to do this will be, we've got a line here because these are brand new tyres. There's a line in the center of both these tyres. We'll take our tape, put it in the center of that line, come to the center of this line, get that measurement, and then we go to the back of the tyre and do the same thing. And then what you want is you want them to be the same length, front and rear. So, I mean, it's not going to be the greatest, but that's what I had to do when I had my patrol, because it had a big lift and they wouldn't actually legally align it, so I had to do it myself. That was before we had Hackett's. So this is just to set it up so that we can drive it to them so they can actually properly align it. But if you haven't got the resources to go there and do it, that's how you can sort of get it in a ballpark figure of what you need to do. So the raw sauce. So that's how to do a full suspension upgrade in a Ranger. That'll go for every sort of four-wheel drive you can possibly get. But yeah, thanks for watching, keep on boosting, and we'll see you in the next video.